Hello there and welcome to the Family History Foundation. Today, it's how to find immigrant ancestors without passenger lists. Yes, 7 proven alternatives that actually work. Right here. Hello, my name is Franklin, and as always, you guys are checking out the Family History Foundation, and you can find us over at familyhistoryfoundation.com for many more articles. You can subscribe, leave comments, and get involved over there. But for now, let's check this out, okay? So when you're trying to find immigrant ancestors without passenger lists, the journey can feel like a daunting maze. Passenger lists and ship manifests are often the first records genealogists reach for, right? But what happens when your ancestor simply doesn't appear on one? Well, the documents were lost, destroyed, or never created in the first place, but that's not all hope is lost. We're not abandoning them out there. We can go and find them because they were there. And my expertise in this area really comes in the late 1800s until the early 1900s. Yeah, so late 19th century, early 20th century in my research. But this is going to be able to apply to whatever situation that you have and hopefully get you going. So we're going to explain a little bit around what passenger lists are and then give you some strategies. 7 proven strategies. So the truth is, countless genealogists have faced this exact challenge and still succeed. You just need to know where to look, right? Or in this case, where else to look, okay? In this post, we'll uncover 7 proven record types and research strategies to help you find immigrant ancestors without passenger lists, okay? But like I said, we're also gonna give you information about passenger lists and links to articles which I've written, which will give you everything you need to know to get you on your way, okay? And reignite your excitement about discovery along the way, because sometimes our pencil, our attention, our energy can get dulled when we sort of hit roadblocks and we get frustrated and we want to walk away. And sometimes we don't feel that sense of accomplishment. But, you know, when we're persistent and when we put time into it, the payoff, as you know, if you're listening to this, is just immensely rewarding. So from customs documents to church registers and overlooked border records, you'll learn how to rebuild your ancestor story even without that elusive manifest, right? So here's our table of contents. We're going to go into why passenger lists go missing. We're going to look at customs and port records, church registers and parish registers, parish records, naturalization and citizenship papers, newspapers, announcements and local bulletins, which I've been researching a lot lately. City directories and census clues, of which I've researched extensively in the past, border crossings and indirect arrivals, letters, diaries, and family papers. Yep. So, and also, of course, how to organize what you find once you find it. And we have a lot of that over on our videos here and also on familyhistoryfoundation.com. So let's ask the question, why passenger lists go missing at all and why it's not the end, more importantly, right? Passenger lists are wonderful when they exist. Yes, they are. I have had the thrill, and comment down below if you've actually had the thrill of finding your ancestor on a passenger list or some arrival record, maybe a certificate of arrival through Ellis Island. That is the gold standard right there for me. But many of these records were damaged by water, lost in fires, or misplaced during government reorganizations. Sometimes the information is there, we don't know it's there because maybe it's mistranscribed, right? So there's all these sort of ways to flesh out the details of your research and underscoring the fact that this is research, okay? Others were never created, yeah? Particularly before 1820, when federal record-keeping laws didn't require detailed lists for every ship. If you can trace your ancestors like I can in a few lines back to England in the 1600s, boy oh boy, talk about lists. There were so many variances and just crazy way of documenting things. But not to mention the handwriting. Okay, even after 1820, inconsistencies abounded. Shipmasters sometimes failed to submit paperwork, while clerks made transcription errors or recorded anglicized versions of immigrant names. And that is definitely has been one of my stumbling blocks on one of the branches of my family. And I know I've spent untold hours trying to read manifests and decipher handwriting of names and town locations. It is the greatest expression of work to finally make that discovery. And let me know your story in the comments, because if I can find my great-great-grandparents with long Lithuanian last names being anglicized into something not even resembling their actual last name, then I feel like you got a shot at this too. So, okay, I always want to give you some modicum of hope out there. So if you can't find that one perfect document, don't despair. There are dozens of alternative record types waiting to tell the same story, often in richer detail. Genealogy is as much about piecing together fragments as it is finding a single silver bullet. And I know you can relate if you're listening to this. So let's explore how you can find immigrant ancestors without passenger lists by thinking outside the box and following the breadcrumbs your ancestors left behind. Okay, so customs and port records. Yep. Everyone had to go through somewhere, and they stood in some line, went up some plank, and got on some ship, right? So there has to be records at some level somewhere, okay? Before the standardized passenger lists of Ellis Island, U.S. Customs officials created their own sets of entry records. That's right, people had just to write down stuff. These often included ship names, arrival dates, and sometimes even lists of foreign passengers and crew. Stuff is out there. If you're searching to find these records, custom records can be your secret. Yeah, start by checking local port authorities. Maybe they have records. National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, N-A-R-A, or maritime museums near major harbors like Boston, Baltimore, New Orleans, of course, New York. Even if the passenger list is missing, a customs manifest may still survive somewhere, providing indirect proof of your ancestors' arrival. And this might be a blessing, some sort of blessing you're waiting for. My experience is that the port authorities in Europe had much cleaner handwriting than what I've seen at Ellis Island. And this was a huge breakthrough for me on several instances when I was trying to verify my ancestors' departure and arrival in the United States. When I had found the records in Hamburg, Germany, I was so surprised and nearly spilt my coffee. I just distinctly remember thinking, wow, the handwriting's so perfect. It almost looks like it was typed, but it had the name clear as a bell right there, and I got to match it on the US side. So start checking those records. Yeah, did you know they even exist? Well, I found out they existed just through dogged persistence to find those names. And I'm here to help you because I want you to sort of have the same successes in research in genealogy that I have found. It's the passion, people. That's why we are not just genealogists, but family historians. It's about the story, yeah? Because look at that record. It produced a story, yeah? So where to look? U.S. Customs Collection, right? Local maritime archives and port authorities, digitized ship logs and family search and ancestry, Ellis Island Foundation, more and more and more. And any of these locations can spiderweb into other locations. And don't worry, if you don't understand anything about ship manifest, and maybe you're overwhelmed about what actually a ship manifest is or looks like, or even the forms, don't even worry. I got you completely covered with several, not just one, several articles in which I document my experience on ship manifests. So for a deep dive into how customs and ship manifests work and how to read between the lines, oh, I love that. Don't miss How to Find Your Ancestors on a Ship Manifest, and that will take you over to familyhistoryfoundation.com. The link down below, and it is one of my most popular posts for understanding how manifest, what they are, and how to find the information, how to glean the best information. So, essential reading for sure. Church registers and parish records, of course, because everything was kept by the church before, right? When official immigration paperwork is nowhere to be found, churches often hold the missing piece, and immigrant families turn to local congregations for spiritual and social support. And also, they were the keepers of BMD. You know what a BMD is? Of course you do. Birth, marriage, and death records, which, of course, any genealogist knows and is central to our practice. Yeah. So sometimes you have those documents right there in the church or parish records. Yeah. So clergy members sometimes added personal notes, like maybe in their notes they added new to this parish from Hamburg or something like that, right? Because communities tended to congregate, especially in the 1800s, early 1900s, right? When my Lithuanian ancestors arrived, of course, they congregated in New Haven, Connecticut around other Lithuanians, right? But there were Italians next door and English and everyone else. And my English side, well, we were here in the colonies, so that's all we had to hang out with, I guess. So, right, you might find those in maybe historic societies around whatever ethnic background you come from. So, yeah. And oftentimes you may need to hire a translator and or research to find parish records in other countries. This is definitely a top tip. And it's a worthwhile endeavor. And I have done it several times. I've paid for translators to translate these parish records for me. And let me know if you have questions in the comments below on how to do that. And we can definitely get you on your way, okay? So pro tip, seek out church bulletins, membership lists, donation rolls. All these supplementary materials can help you out. Sometimes you have to do the legwork, maybe through historical societies. Other times, if you have it online, then good for you. Okay, naturalization and citizenship papers. Hey, did you know we have a newsletter? Sorry, butting myself in here. We have a newsletter. Check it out on Family History Foundation. Sign up for the latest posts and genealogical news from the Family History Foundation. Subscribe at any time, and we will never, ever spam you, okay? So back to naturalization and citizenship papers. Few record sets are as useful when you're trying to find your immigrant ancestors without passenger lists as naturalization files. Oh my gosh, this is the one that you want to look for, okay? These documents often have the name of the port of entry, ship, and arrival date, of course. Some of them have the name of the town the person came from, the person who was sponsoring the immigrant coming over, especially through Ellis Island. And these are valuable. Always remember, and this is my other top tip, when you read my articles on ship manifests, I consistently take time to point this out, but always look for a page 2. So many people have skipped over this, and this is a very, very sort of high-level secret when you're looking at passenger manifests. Never assume it's just one page. I've found when I went to page 2, and sometimes they're not there, but I remember one time going over to find a page 2, and on the same line as my ancestor who came on a ship, it actually gave bio. It told me his height, hair color, eye color, and I was just like, wow, I mean, it's all just the same as having a picture or something. I mean, it was a super huge score, okay? So the other things you want to pair naturalization papers with are declaration of intentions and petitions for naturalization, okay? So these are often called first papers and second papers, but they went in sequence, right? Because if somebody, say, landed in, I'm going to use my ancestor as an example, in New Haven, Connecticut, in 1904, right? They were there doing their thing, and then they're like, yes, I think it's time that I want to declare my intention to be a citizen. So you filled out a set of paperwork called Declaration of Intention. And then during that same period of time, as you're going through that, there was a petition for naturalization, which were your second papers. But these, if you look at these, and I'll put up examples, you can see the examples here, have biographical information on there. And it often, requires the name of the ship that person came on. and where the town was they came from. So, and you got to read my article, because that is sometimes a red herring. Not all the information that people put down on those forms are correct, because oftentimes they did it years after they actually arrived and they didn't remember. So anyway, read my articles for the in-depth scoop on that, okay? And if you want to strengthen your online research techniques, read my roller coaster of joy article called Genealogy Research Online, the one ultimate user-friendly beginner's guide. It'll teach you everything about basic research, how to research. It's basically like a free course. How are you going to research your genealogy? Tips, tricks, all kinds of cool stuff. So anyway, head on over, link in the description below. Okay, newspapers, announcements, and local bulletins, which we've kind of touched on just for a bit, but they're underrated powerhouses for anyone trying to find their immigrant ancestors, yeah? And many newspapers publish ship arrival reports, naturalization announcements, and list of letters remaining at the post office. You could find things like that. So you can search these things if you have a subscription to Ancestry. If you get the full subscription, you can get an access to newspapers.com, which I have, and I think is one of the best research tools I've ever come across, literally, yeah. So, and I've really been doing a deep dive into newspapers, looking at different ancestors, and it's just, it's so good, it's a whole nother wing of research. Okay, so Chronicling America is another one that's free, and that's supported by the Library of Congress, newspapers.com, of course, which is paid subscription, but definitely worth it, I think. Local and regional historical societies are always invaluable. Plus, when you go to a historical society, you get to meet people, and oftentimes they are just the most beautiful people on the planet, just lovely, lovely people. And if you are listening right now or watching and you're part of a historical society, thank you so much for the work you do. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing right now. And feel free to reach out to Family History Foundation, and maybe we can link up and support each other. Yeah, Ancestry.com, Fold 3, and many other places like Family Search, okay? So I have an article that is pretty informative about Castle Garden immigration. And you may be thinking, well, what is Castle Garden immigration? Yeah, it's the forgotten gateway before Ellis Island. Right? Before Ellis Island was created, it was called Castle Garden. And if you want the history of that whole place in New York, from the island and how it moved across the bay, then read this article. It's really, really telling. It's full of maps and details about the history going back to the Dutch, believe it or not. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Whet your appetite. Let's get into number 5, city directories and census clues. Oh boy, I love city directories so much. Yeah, city directories and censuses offer more context than you might expect. Yeah, these directories list addresses, occupations, employers, and sometimes notations like recently arrived from Liverpool, right? Census entries ask for the year of immigration and whether the person was naturalized. And sometimes city directories tell you, often, of course, back in the early 1900s, they told you where the person lived. And then you look at people around where that person lived, and you get all these cool types of clues. And you look for people at the same address. And then you say, oh, these are my people because look at this person was living with this person. And that's how I found that my great-grandmother's family had also come over as immigrant ancestors on passenger lists, because as I searched through the city directories, I found relevant addresses nearby, and in the same address as my great-grandmother at one point in time lived these people who I suspected were her brothers, and turns out to be true. But this was a nice bit of corroborating evidence through city directories and census clues. So again, research, okay? It's all about research, but it's all about love of our ancestors. It's the overarching theme of family history. So backlink essentials, if you want more things to read, I'm gonna just tell you that we have cloud storage for genealogists, the 5 best tools to preserve your family memories, 15 genealogy research habits that save time, how to overcome genealogy brick walls, how to skillfully organize family history documents, 7 steps. It's a complete guide for genealogists, and the 10 best free family tree templates to download, and how to use them. Boy, oh boy. Okay, before we move on, let's do a quick quiz. I want to quiz you guys. I like to see if you're paying attention here, okay? So let's test your knowledge and see how ready you are to find your immigrant ancestors without passenger lists. Okay, I'm going to ask you a quick set of questions, okay? 1, 2, 3 in rapid fire suggestion. It is suggestion, but in succession. Okay, are you guys ready? Okay, true or false? All passenger lists before 1820 were lost forever. Answer, false. Of course that's false. Some survive in private collections and early port ledgers. Okay, how'd you do? All right, let's get to number 2. This is a question. A, B, or C, which type of record often includes arrival dates and birthplace? Okay, are you ready? A, tax records, B, naturalization documents, or C, probate files? And the answer is B, naturalization documents. Okay, if you're 2 out of 2 so far, good on you. Pat yourself on the back and get ready for number 3. Okay, here's a question, A, B, or C. Where might you find hidden ship names or routes? A, local newspapers, B, census entries, or C, death certificates? Answer, A. You might find them in local newspapers more than the others. Okay, so if you got those correct, yes, drop a comment below. Let me know. You got 1, 2, or 3. Yeah, let's celebrate this. Okay, if you got all 3 right, you're on your way to being a family history detective. You already are, okay? If you're listening to this, you actually already are. Okay, 2 more. Let's go. You ready? Border crossings and indirect arrivals. So not everyone went through Ellis Island. Obviously, many entered the United States via Canada, Mexico, and other places depending on the year and what the United States and other countries looked like at the time, right? Especially during restrictive periods. So always check for border crossings, train manifests, visa entries. Some immigrants came through Halifax or Quebec, right? And so it could have come through different routes. I remember even trying to trace down somebody because I thought they came through Canada or left to Canada during the Revolutionary War. And it turned out not to be them, but I was thinking, oh my God, did they ditch during the Revolutionary War and then cross over to British territory? That means they were sympathetic to the British, right? And so I thought, oh no, whoa, what a shame. But hey, whatever happens, happens. And you got to be proud of your ancestors for anything that they do. Yeah, it's some of those stories that are aberrant that actually make us the most obsessed with finding out about them. And I got many, many stories about that. Okay. Here's a great article. All right. If you want to master ship manifest, this article is going to actually get you there. It's called 6 Ways to Find Hidden Information in Ellis Island Ship Manifest. This is the one that's going to unlock everything for you if you want this sort of really, really focused article on what to do with ship manifests. You may want to read that in conjunction with this. Finally, letters, diaries, and family papers. Yes, look within your own family history to find your family history. Maybe somebody else already has that record stored away in a cabinet, in a book, in a folder, in a binder, somewhere, right? Maybe an old letter or a diary that was written and it said, we landed in safely in New York, and it came with a date or something, written from one person to another. Family Bibles often record life events, and these letters often traversed countries as people wrote back and forth, right? When you find these treasures, though, handle them gently and digitize them for safekeeping. Yeah, if you come across these heirlooms, they're really heirlooms. Yeah, you want to look at, doing that. And I have an article, Cloud Storage for Genealogists, and other articles that talk about how to actually preserve these things and be very, very careful. Okay. So really how to organize and track what you find. As you go through this, you may want to just sort of get organized, create a spreadsheet with columns with source type, archive, date, key findings, color code your entries, include direct links or citations, making retracing steps simple. save digital copies in cloud storage and other places. So there's a lot of ways to keep organized, and I got a ton of articles and videos on here for you to do that. So we have a bunch of articles back on Family History Foundation. So thanks. That's it. I want to just thank you and tell you that you guys are, of course, tuned in to the Family History Foundation. And head on over there, check the links below, post your answers down in the comments. Also, hey, like and subscribe if you have not, and share these videos far and wide, because it'll help me to help you to help others. And let's make the world a better place by sharing our family history and celebrating the past. And because we are the Family History Foundation, and my motto is the past relative to the future. Okay, take care. Love you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.